What is going on, everybody? Welcome to Mets Weekly, episode 31. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. Free agency is on its way. It's going to come very quick with the CBA clock ticking right now. So there's tons of stuff to get into. But first, let's introduce the guys, the dream team, the squad right here, -1. We'll start with Mets Talk with Hayden, or Marlins Talk with Hayden right now.
What's going on, everyone? I guess if you want to call me Marlins Talk with Hayden, I'll accept that. But yeah, Mets Talk with Hayden is the name. Raging is the game. I hope we are all doing extremely well. Pretty basic channel for the most part. Live streams, news, updates, all of that great stuff. And yeah, otherwise, that's it. I want to thank Mets Fan for hosting this week. And we got a lot of stuff to go into this offseason. Going to be very exciting. LFGM. Yeah, I guess LFGM Marlins is the same way, so.
Okay. Let's go to Tony Metro. I think he's muted. I'm not sure.
I believe you're muted.
Let's get something unplugged.
What's up, guys? Tony Metro, making a lot of baseball content. Right now, a lot of postseason content. Predictions, covering the games and all the happenings in baseball. And then, of course, it's going to be hot stove season very soon. So I'll be giving out a couple different predictions for various teams, specifically the Mets. And I am the biggest San Francisco Giants fan in the world tonight. Let's go Giants. I hope they eliminate the Dodgers tonight.
All right. The all-elite Rhino, Andrew Acevedo. What's up, man? How you doing?
What's going on, guys? What's going on? Again, more armchair GM kind of stuff. We did try a couple days ago. We started our first prediction for the offseason, our way too early offseason predictions. You'll get a few more of those. You'll get my personal, what I would do it with as the president of baseball ops video, hopefully out in maybe a week or two, and kind of any just trade rumors, signings, anything I find intriguing, hockey, baseball, wrestling, pretty much everything. And let's talk about free agency stuff.
All right, and finally, Frank about sports.
Yes, Frank about sports. I cover mostly the Mets, every now and then some other sports. But with the offseason coming, there's going to be a lot of craziness going on. So there will be a lot of videos. And if you see a tweet about Carlos Correa in the 14th draft pick, I'm responsible for that tweet. So that's probably what I'm most known for.
On Mets Twitter, I think it's like #1 at like 3 o'clock.
Trending. So yeah, I see him getting a few questions in the stream about what's going on here. So before we talk about anything, I just want to let everybody know that we're trying a little something new right here for Mets Weekly. This episode is not only on my channel, but it's also on Frank About Sports channel. It's streaming on his, and it's also on Tony Metro's channel. If I can speak, that'd be nice. So if you're coming from Frank's channel, if you're coming from Tony's channel, welcome. Make sure to pop into all streams, leave a like, start up a conversation there, move it to the next one. We're trying to get a lot of Mets fans in here to talk about a offseason that could be the craziest one yet. So let's see. So now most of us have control over the stream operations right now. I'm going to be doing my hosting job right now, and these guys will put some comments on the screen for three streams at once, as people are noticing in the chat. So I'll be doing my hosting job. These guys will put comments up on the screen because they have some control over it as well. And the last thing as well, our viewer questions document will where the viewers where the viewer questions, and I am going to get so distracted with this. Okay, that link is pinned in the comment in the chat. It's the pinned comment on my channel, and these guys can pin it as well on their channel if they want to. So there you go. All right. So with all that being said, here we go. Episode number 31 of Mets Weekly. Where will they go is our main question today, and we'll get into that topic later. But first, the rumors have been circling around like crazy for everything this past week. But the number one discussion, of course, is the president of baseball operations. Now, candidates have been popping up like crazy. In fact, the boss man, Steve Cohen, has even took to his firm to try and find the very best in the business to run baseball operations for this team. Now, we all know our first, second choices of who we want in the office. But by reports, instincts, the fortune teller you visited this week, who probably stole your credit card information, who will be the new president of baseball operations for the Mets? Who do you guys think has the biggest chance? Who do you think is going to be in that office? Give me your prediction. Let's start with Tony Metro.
Yeah, you know what? This name didn't really pop into my head until one of the guys mentioned it last week. I think it was Andrew Acevedo, the Rhino. Eric Burns of the Los Angeles Dodgers. I love this guy's track record. I love his resume. He's been, I believe, the assistant GM with the Dodgers for a number of years now. He's been in their front office for probably about 10 years now or so. And he's been a pivotal reason for why they've drafted and developed so many homegrown all-star players. Not just the guys that play on the Dodgers roster, guys that turned into Mookie Betts that they've traded along the way, guys like Alex Verdugo. And that is what this Mets system needs. They need to not only build it through free agency and trade, but they need to build a farm system for a sustainable winner. Eric Burns sounds like the best guy for that. Obviously, Billy Beane's kind of the sexy name, but I'm not totally sure. We heard a report this week that he, quote, would love the chance to come and work here in New York. But there's going to be a lot of star power behind that. And if it doesn't work out, it really could blow up in the Mets' face. So right now, I got to go with Eric Burns as my number one choice.
Is it Eric Burns or Josh Burns? I don't even know.
Josh Burns. Eric was the outfielder, guy that was known for always making diving catches in the outfield.
Yeah,
crazy. He was also on the Diamondbacks, though.
Yes, he was on the Oakland A's. He bounced around.
He was with Oakland, yeah. I remember that catch. I always see that one a lot. Let's see. Let's go to Frank. Who do you think is going to be it?
I think if Steve Cohen did have his pick, I think that pick would be Josh Burns because, I always go back to one of Steve Cohen's press conferences, the opening one, where he said he wanted to be like the Dodgers. And I think the easiest way to do that would be to get someone from the Dodgers front office. So I do think that Josh Burns makes a lot of sense. I think that David Stearns is a little unlikely. I think it's going to be pretty hard to pull off. I feel like either Milwaukee's not going to give him up or they're going to have to trade or someone to do that. But I think Burns makes sense. Like we said, Billy Beane, that's like kind of an older guy. Like we said, it's similar to Sandy. So I do think that Cohen wants to go a younger route, wants to get someone who focuses on farm and development because that's a huge weakness of the New York Mets. We know that their farm system, while they have nice guys at the top, it really has a big drop-off after that. And they've had some prospect issues this past year, trading one away and then not signing the other draft picks. So I think they would want Josh Burns up with that because what's going to come down to is that once these other guys, if you want to bring in a lot of money free agency-wise, then it comes like, oh, my gosh, I have to extend all these guys. It becomes really hard financially. But if you could get a bunch of homegrown guys at really reasonable cost, all of a sudden that'll help your payroll long-term. You have that really good long-term financial flexibility, which is what makes a sustained winner. So I think that is what Cohen is going for. I know Cohen wants to win, but I think he would like to have a guy that would help him give that long-term winning. And I feel like Josh Burns is a really good candidate for that. He's young. He's not a guy like Sandy who's older, so he's only going to be here for a few years. Like, that Josh Burns could run your organization for a long time, which I think is something that Steve Cohen wants. He doesn't want to keep changing, like, oh, now we need to fire this guy, get somebody else, fire this guy and get another person. I just have that one guy. So Burns makes the most sense to me. I hope the Mets get access to him so that they could get him.
Okay, Hayden, who is your pick? I forgot to put the banner up, so that's we're already missing here. Hayden, who is the pick? Who do you think is going to be in that office? Who has the best chance?
Well, we're going to start a streak here, and I'm going to say Josh Burns, but I'm going to change it up a little bit. I know the question is president of baseball operations, and currently I still have Sandy Alderson in that role. However, Josh Burns, we know he was a general manager with the Arizona Diamondbacks and the San Diego Padres. Now he is a vice president of operations with the Dodgers. He is responsible for drafting some pretty big names. I know someone said in the comments, didn't he trade away Max Scherzer from the Diamondbacks to the Tigers? Well, he got him back with the Dodgers, so it's a win-win. But the good outweigh the bad. This is a dude who knows so much about day-to-day activities that I would love to see him in a general manager role. We saw he really is partially responsible for this Padres team right now. He did develop the Diamondbacks. Unfortunately, they took a big Kaputskis, but that was after he left. So regardless of that, this is a guy who, like I said, knows so much about the farm system. He knows about developing these guys. He could easily be a great scout. The Mets aren't in dire need for a farm system, but I think it's something that the Mets definitely should have to observe is trying to build up this farm. Like everyone said, East Coast Dodgers. And I want the Mets to be like that. And this is a guy who would make moves at the trade deadline, make big acquisitions this offseason, free agencies, and I think Josh Burns is the great guy to do it. I think a GM role would be the best thing for him, as he's much more knowledgeable in the day-to-day activities rather than being all the way up in the high executive office. And, right now he's with the Dodgers. He has another year contract. If he could finagle to get out of that, come here, it'd be an upgrade, I guess, to be in New York.
The one issue that happens if he were to take the GM role is that if Sandy Alston steps down next year, would Burns get promoted, and do you have to do a whole nother search again to then get a president of baseball ops while Burns as the GM? So you would have it regardless.
You would have it regardless. But you would have it regardless, though, because let's say that Sandy does step down this year, and then he's the president of operations. Well, then who's the GM?
Okay, no, that's what I'm getting. All right, but I'm saying that if you make Burns the president and you get a GM, then you have both covered for when Sandy steps down. Yeah.
Okay. Andrew, you continuing the streak?
Well, of course, I have to keep the Burns train going because I'm the guy who got everybody on the Kool-Aid for Josh Burns, it seems like. Every interview, every YouTube video, it seems like Burns and my name are kind of associated with each other now. So, again, it's the guy, young, develops prospects. Like Frank said, we're top-heavy in the prospect department. I would like to go from not just the top 5. I'd like a 1 through 15, 1 through 20 of just pretty good to elite prospects. And he has done it. Like I said last week, ever since he's been with the Dodgers, they've had a top 10 or better farm system. And that's not just having a couple guys at the top. That's depth. And look at how many guys the Dodgers have traded away to acquire superstars that the Dodgers have developed in their farm system and have been moved. So, again, if any choice, it's got to be Josh Burns. Part of me does still hope, and it's not going to happen, that David Stearns is available. But David Stearns is a New York guy. He could go to the owner and say, hey, I want this job. Please. And think about it. He could go to just say, you know what? I want to be in New York. Give me the opportunity. If I lose, I'll come back. But at least give me the opportunity to pursue the job I wanted my whole life for. So that's the glimmer of hope of David Stearns, but Josh Burns is the most realistic.
I think it's Gio. I think it's with a Y. Pretty sure he's cool like that.
E-R-Y. Yes.
I think we're doing a clean sweep here. I think it is going to be Josh Burns. Frank pretty much stole away a lot of what I was saying. What I was going to say about the Cohen press conference, and I actually rewatched it 2 nights ago. And I basically was just looking at what his goal was, to form this organization. It's kind of crazy considering what happened this year. And I do want like everyone who's watching this stream to go watch it after this stream, because it'll probably give you a good idea of what Sandy was supposed to do this year. And it's really weird considering how things pretty much unfolded, but Burns, I mean, he pretty much does a little bit of everything. I mean, this is scouting, drafting, trading, analytical analysis, etc. I mean, all these things form a successful organization. Obviously, it's not like we get Burns, we're automatically World Series favorites, but he can get us to that. So Josh Burns, I think, will be the guy. We're seeing Billy Beane pop up a little bit recently of how he's still interested. I'm not really interested, but maybe he still is. But Josh Burns is definitely my favorite to get it. If anybody wants to add anything on Billy Beane, because we've all pretty much fell head over heels for Josh Burns right now. So if there's anything we want to add about Billy Beane, anyone?
I think it's similar to Sandy, where it's like, how long is Billy Beane even going to have the job? I mean, like, he's been doing some other ventures besides baseball now. So again, it's like, is that a long-term fix? I mean, when you get a younger guy like Burns, again, he's gonna be someone who's running your organization for a long time. And I think, like we say, it's just too similar to Sandy. I think that's what it comes down to. Whether it's age, whether it's philosophy, experience, just it's another Sandy.
Yeah, I think it's more of just the name and not the so it's kind of like how we talked about getting the name, the big name, like Trevor Bauer, or are we allowed to say his name right now? But like we tried, and then we did better, for the most part with Taijuan Walker. You know what I mean? It wasn't the big name, but it's the name. It's basically the skill over the glamour. Basically, that's what I'm trying to say right here. And I just don't think Billy Beane belongs in a big market like this. And I think Sandy was good for what he was brought in to be. And he was mostly Sandy was the financial plateau type of guy when they brought him in with the Wilpons, and when he was brought in by Cohen to kind of keep them under that luxury tax and keep them low financially while being monitored by the MLB. So I think Burns. I think we're all going with Burns, as Andrew has tough time connecting, but I think he's back now. Now let's we have our predictions for the president of baseball operations, but then we have another big factor, the manager. Now, as we all know, Luis Rojas will not be coming back to be the Mets manager in 2022. Then we last week reminisced about the amazing experience that we had with Luis Rojas as the manager, and we talked about his future in baseball and if it's going to be with the Mets or not. But now let's go into his replacement. Now, unlike our predictions, let's talk about our number one option to manage the Mets. Because who do we think is going to be the best hire? We can't really make a prediction just yet of who it actually is going to be, because we don't have a president of baseball operations yet, and we don't really know that type of approach that they're going to go with for a manager. So who would be a name that has been brought up, or a name that you've been thinking about to be your number one option to manage the Mets next season? Who do you like? Plenty of names up in the air right now. Let's start with Andrew Acevedo. We'll go alphabetically.
Let's go with the newest man on the market, Mike Schilt. I don't think any of us saw the Cardinals moving off of him, especially, again, I see them more, obviously, Cardinals on my second team, so I do pay attention to them, and I was shocked when I saw that they just cut him today. When if you look at the All-Star break, that team's dead. And then in the second half, they pull off a miracle 18-game winning streak or whatever it was. They sneak into the playoffs. Yes, does the game obviously outright show the outright abilities and blows it. But the fact that they just gave him up, he always in contention for a division or a wild card, and they just cut him for there's no like, oh, maybe he had something. They just cut him. And looking at some of the options, like Showalter and some of the older guys, you want managerial experience. Schilt has managerial experience. He's a guy who loves his players, who will defend his players. We want some fiery guy, unlike Luis Rojas. If one of our guys gets screwed over on a bad call, our manager's going to stick up for him. That's what Mike Schilt would do. And for me, again, that's, I think, the best option available of the guys who, if you don't want to go a first-time manager, of the guys who have experience and who are good for today's game. I think Schilt's the best option, and he's the newest option. So I'd go Mike Schilt, the best possible option.
All right. Andrew's connection was having a tough time there, but it fought through. It fought through like a rhino. So let's go to Hayden. Who's your number one option here to manage the Mets? Because I know you didn't like the last one.
Oh, well, listen, I think it's safe to say I was the biggest Luis Rojas supporter of all time, and I think the best person to bring back is Mickey. No. To be honest with you, I've looked at the names. There's really nobody that stands out for me. At first, I was really, really big on the Carlos Beltran train. You know, I figured enough times passed. Everyone else has their jobs. You've heard it a million times. And, now I started to think about it. He's never really had much coaching experience. It's not like a guy where Ron Washington or whoever else is on the market that you want to think of has been a coach or even a manager. Ron Washington, he was a guy for the Braves. He was their first base coach, I believe. It's little stuff like that that really matters, just being in those situations. I know people are talking about Aaron Boone. Personally, I don't – Mets and Yankees, they have completely different expectations, so I would gladly take Boone. Simply just get to the playoffs and then plan out there. I know Bruce Bochy, I guess he's kind of been out of baseball for a while. But to be honest with you, I really don't have anyone right now.
Okay. Frank.
Yeah,
who
my guy.
would you like to manage?
Well, the number one option is Bob Melvin, only because he has the experience and things like that. But I think he's unrealistic. And the guy that now I talked about Burns over Bean because of the age, I'm going to go the same with my managerial candidate, and that is, again, Miguel Cairo. And because when you look at Buck Showalter, when you look at Bruce Bochy, these are guys that are older. They're not going to be here very long. Whereas Miguel Cairo is so young. If he does a good job, I know he could be my manager for a really long time. Whereas if I get a Bruce Bochy, if I get a Buck Showalter or someone older like that, I don't know how long they're going to be my manager, because maybe I have them for a few years and then I'm looking for another manager again. And we start this whole process all over again. I'm tired of looking for new managers. I just think that now with the whole new school philosophy, what they look for in managers, I think Miguel Cairo is a perfect candidate because he can relate well to players. He's younger. He'll embrace analytics, but still have old school values. He's bench coach on the Chicago White Sox. Like I said, played on a million different teams, played a ton of positions, played with the Mets and played with the Yankees for a couple of years. So he has a brief familiarity with New York, which definitely is important. You have to at least have some kind of New York experience if you're going to come here to manage, because it is a really, really tough job for anyone that takes it. So I do like Miguel Cairo in that aspect because, like I said, the age is a big deal for me. And I just think that also the fact that he's bilingual, so he can relate to English players, he can relate to Spanish-speaking players. So I just think that he makes a ton of sense. So Miguel Cairo is the guy I really like a lot.
Okay. All right. Tony Metro. What do you got?
I was hoping that his name wouldn't be brought up, but I just can't believe that you guys wouldn't be ecstatic about Bruce Bochy. He was my number one choice before you guys brought his name up, and I think it would be electric. He's only 66 years old. If you look at Tony La Russa, he's 74. If you look at Dusty Baker, he's 73, 72. So, I mean, my perfect pairing in a perfect world would be Bruce Bochy as the manager and Carlos Beltran as the bench coach. Let Bochy manage the team for 3 years, 4 years. Let Beltran get his feet wet, get the experience as the bench coach. 3 to 4 years go by. If Bochy's done, make Beltran the manager if he's shown you enough. Secondly, you bring in Beltran. Guess what? Puerto Rican guy, former teammates with Carlos Correa. There you go. That's how you set it up. That's how you get Carlos Correa in the door. That's how you keep Javi Baez. You got Francisco Lindor already. Bochy for 3 to 4 years. Beltran as the bench coach. I'd be ecstatic.
And then, okay, but the one thing that I think is something that we're not talking about is now the way that managers are used by the front office. I think when they talked about Mike Schill being fired, we're like, how did Mike Schill go? I mean, the Cardinals were playing well. He seemed like a decent manager. Why would they fire him? And the response they kept saying,
who's having the most success in baseball right now? The teams that have managers that push the buttons themselves, like Alex Cora for the Red Sox, not the guys like Aaron Boone that are just a mouthpiece for the front office and are just doing these predetermined analytic lineups and predetermined switches in the pitching staff during points of the game. I mean, we already had Luis Rojas as that guy. And
you don't think Klein Boone tells Alex Cora what to do?
Not to the degree that Aaron Boone gets instructed. Not to the degree that I think most managers in baseball do. And yeah, we know Schilt, philosophical differences, a.k.a. wasn't taking direction from the front office.
No, but what I'm saying is that the next president of baseball ops that the Mets bring in is most likely going to want a lot of say in what the manager does. And I don't know if Bruce Bochy's going to go for that. That's something not a lot of these older managers go for. That's why Joe Girardi didn't come to the Mets, because he wanted to call the shots, and the Wilpons wanted to be the ones that call the shots. So I think that you have a much better chance of Miguel Cairo embrace that kind of role than a Bruce Bochy.
Well, Miguel Cairo is an unproven manager. He's never managed in the big leagues before. My whole idea is getting.
Okay, but you talked about Alex
Correa.
Correa.
Beltran, you get that younger analytics side go with a pairing of the old school side of Bochy.
You talked about Alex Cora. Miguel Cairo is a bench coach right now. Alex Cora was a bench coach before he got hired.
Okay.
Bench coach for 1 year.
Okay, so what exactly does it matter though if Bochy?
You were talking about how good Alex Cora is. Miguel Cairo is doing the same thing Alex Cora did.
That doesn't make him Alex Cora.
Oh, okay, but I mean, if you want Alex Cora, that's the most similar guy you're going to get is Miguel Cairo. It's not
just because he was a bench coach.
No, because he was a bench coach, because they were utility players. They played for a ton of different teams. They played very recently. There's a lot of similarities between those two guys.
So you go Miguel Cairo over Bruce Bochy?
Yes, because I know that Miguel Cairo is going to be here for a long time, and Bruce Bochy is only going to be here a couple of years. He's been out of the league for years. You think Bruce Bochy's going to? Wait a second. Yeah, the Mets are going to be using analytics. You think Bruce Bochy, this old man who hasn't managed in years, is going to embrace analytics?
2 years. 2019 was his last year.
Okay, how much have analytics become a bigger part now?
How did Tony La Russa do this year with the White Sox?
Not good.
92 wins. We would
in a horrible division. Tony,
92 games.
In a terrible division, they got bounced in the first round.
Oh
and they did the same thing with Rick Renteria. They made no difference with La Russa. None. And they had a huge offseason. He did nothing.
La Russa and
the players
came very close to losing that locker room. Like he came really close like all year. Bruce Bochy, did he retire or is he just not? Or
he didn't.
No, he hasn't wiped out the idea of being a manager. He took a front office position with the Giants, and he hasn't ruled out the idea of returning as a manager one day.
Okay.
I mean, look, I've seen back-to-back rookie managers for the Mets, and I've seen them both be absolutely horrific. I want someone in there that has experience. Whether or not he takes the analytics, I just want someone in there that knows how to manage a dugout, knows how to manage clubhouse chemistry. The biggest indictment on this organization was last week when multiple players came out and said that there was no leadership or person to hold the players accountable throughout the season, and we watched them sleepwalk through this entire second half. And it's a clubhouse full of young, immature players, the booing, thumbs down gate, whatever you want to call it. That shit won't fly with Bruce Bochy. I get what you're saying. I appreciate the idea of a guy like Miguel Cairo too. But for me, I'm done with the rookie managers. I don't want someone that doesn't have the experience. I know he's a bench coach.
I'm just saying it's not a good long-term solution. Next year, great. But I just think long-term, it's not a good fit.
All right. I'm with you.
Because in 5 years, you might be doing the same thing we're doing now. I'm tired of doing that. I just want to get a guy that I know is the guy.
Okay. Andrew, even though you're the one usually doing the trampling as a Rhino, we've pretty much trampled over your voice here. We've gone back and forth. We're
I started this.
Question 2 at minute 28. So, yeah. Andrew, who would be your number one option to manage the Mets?
I started with Schilt, remember? I said Schilt already.
You did start with Schilt.
Yeah,
so everyone went.
Well, me. Okay. I think I'm going to go with Frank on this one, and I think I'm going to go with Miguel Cairo as well. And I think we talk about my reasoning here is as guys, as players, we talk about Carlos Beltran as having a Hall of Fame career. I mean, I usually troll Frank about Carlos Beltran, but no, Carlos Beltran was a great player. And his possibilities to be the Mets manager again, and that was kind of like their mindset before the debacle happened with the Astros cheating scandal. So. But when you realize the best managers aren't usually the best players, and we talked about this last week, we touched up on this a little bit, and it makes sense because a role player can really has that experience in managing during their career and making so many adjustments. Now the guy Miguel Cairo here. You look at his career; he was a journeyman. He did a lot of. He was in a lot of different teams. Now, Jays, Cubs, Rays, Cardinals, Yankees, Mets, Phillies, Reds. I mean, he was all over the place. He had to adjust a lot, and all different settings. A lot of experience as a role player, and that is something that you can apply as a manager. And what we've learned after using 64 players this year, role players are extremely important. And Miguel Cairo does remind me of Luis Guillorme as a player, someone who's quick to react and make a decision. Now, he's not the best player on the team, even though there is arguments. But that's what we lacked with Rojas. And I think Miguel Cairo would bring that to the table. And Miguel Cairo as well, Luis Guillorme, both from Venezuela. And so if you're from the same country that produced Luis Guillorme, you're probably the right guy for the job. You're probably the greatest to ever do it. So, yeah, I think I'll go. Jesus Christ. I think this is so distracting. Okay, listen, 3 channels, doing this with 3 channels is good. I like it. But boy, is it, oh, man. Boy, it's distracting. A lot going on. Okay. So let's go to our final unformulated questions here. Big words we're using tonight. Free agency is around the corner. We touched on this a few times at the end of our show of what position they should address and who they should bring back. But we've narrowed it down. We haven't narrowed it down to just one guy, someone who should be the number one priority in free agency, one player, one game changer to this roster. Who is it? Let's start with Hayden.
Yeah. So overall, I think someone echoed him before, and I'm going to go with that. And that is Carlos Correa, the dude who has been in talks right now all over Twitter, all over YouTube. Carlos Correa is overall a guy who I think the Mets should really look into. He's a guy who will hit for some power at times. He could easily hit 25 to 30 home runs. He could hit the ball well. He has some great speed on this team. He has above average defense, a cannon of an arm. I mean, this dude is throwing 99 miles per hour from, the second base position, turning a double play to first base. That is something that the Mets really needed last year, was third base from the offensive point and the defensive point. And I think Carlos Correa really brings that in. If you want to talk about this chemistry, is it good? Is it bad? We'll see. These are grown adults. They have to figure it out themselves. They're not middle schoolers playing baseball. They're not, juniors. They're grown adults. They're going to have to figure this out. So Carlos Correa, I think, is the best asset to look at right now. Of course, you can never have enough starting pitching, so I think starting pitching is a great thing to look at, or just pitching overall, starters and openers role. I don't want to neglect that, but I think third base is the best position to address, and I think Carlos Correa is the guy for that. And we shouldn't have, the renaissance of Robinson Cano playing third base. That would be a very unfortunate thing for this Mets team if that is to happen. If you have Cano or VR staying at third base, be very disappointed.
Sniper, who are you referring to? He's a troll from my Discord, but who is he? Who's he referring to? I don't know. Who's the manager of the year?
Either Bochy or
Bochy.
I think it was a finalist at one point.
Bochy.
Huh? I don't know.
Bochy was. Yeah.
Because he was, I think.
Accolades around here, man. Okay, number one. The number one Frank About Sports. Who we getting?
Yeah, this is probably going to surprise some people, but my number one is Marcus Strowman. Because I really value starting pitching. I think that's the most important thing in all of baseball. You look at all these playoff series that are happening right now. You look at what the Braves did, what the Brewers did. You look at what the Giants are doing, what the Dodgers are doing. They all have really good starting pitching. So I think that Marcus Stroman was the guy that was most reliable for the Mets. He pitched the whole year. He pitched well. And there are people that are saying, oh, well, you know what? Stroman's asking for a lot of money. Just go get Carlos Rondon. Just go get Robbie Ray. Just go get Kevin Guzman. Because they had good years in 2021. They had good ERAs. Well, let me tell you about their ERAs. When you go back to what Robbie Ray was last year, when you go back to what Carlos Rondon was last year, when you go back to what Kevin Guzman was, All those guys have bad ERAs. So, I mean, you want to go with the guys that were 1 year, potential 1 year wonders. All of a sudden, they have a magically good season. Now, I want to give them a big term deal over Marcus Stroman, who has done it for more years than they has and has done it in a Mets uniform, which those two guys have not done. And Carlos Rondon's a little banged up right now. That's why the White Sox didn't use him till the end of the series. So I think that Marcus Stroman is the guy because the way Carlos Carrasco pitched, that was pretty concerning. The way Taijuan Walker pitched the second half of the season, very concerning. Jacob deGrom not pitching second half, not good. I mean, then Noah Syndergaard, we have no idea what he's going to be. We still don't really know quite yet. So I think that just to be safe, I need to have that one guy in my rotation I know is going to make it through the whole year and is going to keep me in every game. Marcus Stroman gave the Mets good innings every single time he was out there. So even if I have to overpay a little bit, at least I know I'm getting a reliable guy in such an important position in the area that the Mets struggled with. And when the last time the Mets were really good, it was because of their rotation. So to me, Marcus Stroman is my number one priority.
All right. I'm just observing the chat right now where people are coming in. They probably have like 3 different windows open because they have the 3 different streams, and they're putting Correa in all 3 of those chats, and it's like showing up Correa. So I don't know. That is just an observation of mine. Andrew, number 1 target in free agency. Who do you got?
All right, time to piss off some people. It's gonna be somebody in the bullpen because as much as we love Edwin Diaz, you always need help. There's never a bad thing to have some extra help get in the 9th inning. And I'm gonna go Kendall Graveman. I know I said I could go Correa, but Hayden's already said it. I can go on a rant the hat, explain the why. Obviously, Correa is the number 1 option. But I'm gonna go somewhere different. I'm gonna go Kendall Graveman. Just because Lugo wasn't Seth Lugo last year. Hopefully you get the bounce back. He gets back to being Seth Lugo. Obviously, our buddy Edwin Diaz, everyone, some people say he's elite. Some people see him giving up homers to Jacob Stallings and ending games. Pretty obviously, he's hit or miss. There's signs of greatness, and then there's 3 to 4 blown saves in a row. You would like more comfortability in the 9th inning. I'm not saying Kendall Graveman has to come in and be the 9th inning, but to have an extra option with Lugo, if he's back to being Seth Lugo, with Diaz, Graveman, even was, hit or miss as well. Good through stretches, had some bounce trip. I think Gosman or any of those back end guys who don't have to be a closer but could be using the closer role should be the best number 1 priority.
All right, Andrew, I don't know if you want to fix something because you're kind of like you're breaking up. Like it's staying there, but it's about to blow up. Like whatever toaster you're using as a router, it's probably like about to explode. So let's move to Tony.
Graveman is another guy that this year he was good, but years past, not a very good pitcher. So, and with relievers, that worries me a little bit. Where a guy has one good year, all of a sudden next year not so much. So, Kendall Graveman worries me a little bit, but I do agree. I would like a little bit extra for the bullpen because, like Andrew said, you definitely could never ever have enough. Nobody could ever have enough bullpen. So, I could never say no to that, but I wouldn't be like guarantee that I know Graveman's going to be a really good reliever. You never know who's going to be a good reliever. So that's the one concern I would have with Graveman.
Tony, Metro.
Who has been said so far?
You've had Correa, Graveman, and you've had Marcus Strowman.
Oh, shit. I was going to say Marcus Strowman. Starting pitching has got to be the most important thing for this team. I would have went with Strowman, but just for the sake of giving you a different name, I guess it's got to be – how about Max Scherzer? I mean, how great would that be? It's unlikely it's not going to happen. I'm trying to give you something different, but the Mets definitely need to address the starting rotation, as we've said on many of these streams, the uncertainty of the DeGrom's health, Syndergaard's health and his ability moving forward post-Tommy John surgery, and the rest of the injuries to that rotation, and even to the depth guys like Peterson and Yamamoto and,
Lucchesi.
Right, Lucchesi. So
Matt Allen. Kumar Rocker.
He's now going to be put back another year in his development. So they need to address the starting rotation. The lineup obviously was atrocious, but I don't think they're just one big bat away from fixing it. I think there's a lot of holes that they need to try to fix. Obviously, getting Javi Baez back would be a great help. Getting a guy like Carlos Correa would be amazing. We're never going to fix the black hole that is catcher because we're stuck with James McCann for the next 3 years. But, you know, you can only do so much in an offseason, and I'm always going to go with pitching over the lineup. So it's for me, it's got to be either Strowman, although he's been already said. Otherwise, hey, Max Scherzer, give him a call, see if it's possible, but not holding my breath on that one.
All right, I'm gonna answer with some inspiration in the background. So, this is probably a pipe dream. Again, we've talked about it, but I come into this offseason with one huge goal to complete that Puerto Rican infield. That's what we got to do. And Correa belongs in New York. All right. The mentality, the drive, the attitude, the cockiness that he has, the ability to get onto their opponent's skin, being labeled as a villain. Get the checkbook, Steve. That's all I got to say at this point. Now, also, let's add that if you don't think he's the best shortstop in baseball, he's a top 3 shortstop in baseball. Now, obviously, he'll play third base, and he's expressed interest at that position. So those for worried about that adjustment, if you have the range that Correa has at shortstop, you're going to be pretty much incredible at third base. Elite defensive shortstops tend to have more range than any third baseman in baseball. Now, what's the difference? The third baseman has a stronger arm, and Correa has a cannon. Probably one of the best infield arms in baseball. He's also an analytics nerd, so yeah. I mean, if you don't make Correa a priority offensively, if you're not talking about just pitching wise or overall, just offensively, and you want to smash that luxury tax, why not give it to a guy who has it all? That can do it here. We all know he can. This is a 5-tool player, postseason experience. He's still young. He's only 28, right? 29. And his personality, 27. Geez. And his personality is New York. Let's be real for a second. I remember during the Lindor 3-home run game, Yankee fans, other people, they were tweeting about Lindor and Baez and saying how they are becoming very unlikable and becoming villains. Imagine what happens when you add Carlos Correa to that mix. The cheater, the back-talking villain. This is a guy who said, if you don't know the facts about this situation, shut the fuck up. That's what he said. The truth is, I'm okay with being the most hated team in baseball. I'm going to tell you right now. That's how the 80s Mets did it. Why don't we do it right now? And that's all I have to say. Get Carlos Correa. There's no reason why he shouldn't be at least one of the top priorities in free agency. Whew. Let me want to add anything on Correa?
I want to add one thing. You're talking about his defense at third base. When Correa was playing third base in the World Baseball Classic, he played it perfectly fine, didn't make any mistakes, and he would be a pretty big upgrade at third base defensively over J.D. Davis and Jonathan VR. So, like you said, and the fact that he's a taller body, that also blends well at the third base position. That's a good profile to have if you want to be a third baseman.
All right. So, did everybody go? I went already, right? Jesus Christ. Okay. So now it's the main event of our show, even though we're already 45 minutes in. Let's play a game. Where will they go? If I had some nice graphics, I would put them up right now. But where will they go? We're going to go through all the Mets pending free agents besides Noah Syndergaard, because I think it's pretty much guaranteed that he's going to come back on a qualifying offer. Where are they going to go in free agency? Do you think they're going to come back, or will they go to 29 other teams? So we'll also explain why they're possibly a good fit. Let's start with somebody that we already talked about for free agency, Marcus Strowman. Plenty of suitors have come up for Marcus Strowman. Mets, Padres, Jays, Cubs. There's probably like one other team I'm missing. Strowman is a big character, very unique mindset as a player, as a person. He's definitely weird. But will he stay in New York to be as weird as the rest of us? Let's see. Where will he go? One player, 30 destinations. Let's start with Andrew Acevedo.
All right, I'm going off the board here, and I'm going to go to a team that that he hasn't showed any interest in, but is a team on the rise and is trying to make that next step. I'm going to the Detroit Tigers because I think they are going to spend money this offseason. They've already been linked to Correa, obviously with AJ Hinch being his manager, and the Tigers want to make that next step. They have a great young rotation of Casey Mize, Tariq Skubal, Matt Manning is coming, so they have some great young talent, but they don't have that veteran in that rotation. Jordan Zimmerman's there, but he's a body. They don't have like that top veteran that could teach the guys to develop in those guys with their potential can find that potential that they have. I think the Tigers are going to be sneaky. Obviously, they have Correa. They've been linked to Correa. They want to go big in a shortstop market. So I think if it was possible, I do think a team, obviously the Mets should be the number one. We're all probably hopefully saying the Mets because we want them here. But for a team that's off the board, I do think the Tigers are going to be sneaky to try to get to that next level.
Okay. Marcus Strowman, where is he going? Tony Metro.
You said it in the beginning. Strowman's kind of a weird guy. He's kind of cut from the same cloth as Kyrie Irving in some ways. He's a little odd.
Okay.
But he's also a businessman, and he also wants to maximize his brand. And if he wants to do that, and he's smart enough to realize it, it's here in New York. So, in my opinion, all offers being equal, he will stay here with the Mets. He will continue to build whatever type of business and brands. And we know he has his clothing apparel, and I'm sure he's got a bunch of other stuff going on. And if he knows if he wins in New York, he is cemented in the Mets legacy in baseball history forever, given how long the drought it's been for the Mets. So in my opinion, if he sees it that way, I do think that all offers being equal from other teams, that he would stay with the Mets.
Okay. Hayden, where's Marcus Strowman going?
Yeah, Strowman's going to be a pretty big guy in the market, in my opinion. I believe he's obviously increased his value big time since the supposed 2020 free agency. We know he's gotten a lot better this year. We don't need to go over that. We know it. And I think there's a lot of contenders out there. The Padres were brought up as one. They're a team that their pitching staff was a little bit of a disappointment this season with Blake Snell and who's the other guy?
Yu Darvish.
Joe Musgrove.
Him too. Those two guys' first half of the season was really rough. They were able to pick it up to an extent later in the second half, but it was too late. Padres, I think, are going to be a contender, and the Mets, obviously. And I think the Toronto Blue Jays are a fair one. Obviously, Marcus Strowman played with the Toronto Blue Jays. I think that would honestly be a solid, fair pick. The Blue Jays, their biggest concern going into the 2021 season was pitching. They had a huge offensive core. It was the pitching. Steven Matz pitched pretty solidly so far this season. Ross Stripling, he struggled in the rotation. They moved him to the bullpen. Rookie Alek Manoah, great guy. I met him personally. Great rookie season that any rookie would be adequate enough with. And, of course, Robbie Ray putting up Cy Young numbers. Questionable if they will re-sign him. If they don't, I think that'll make more of a push for the Blue Jays to go after Marcus Strowman. I think Strowman said he would have no problem with the reunification with the Blue Jays. I think that would be the spot. If not, I think the Mets.
That's actually a really good point right there, because they do have Clevenger coming back. So, okay, Frank, where is Strowman going?
I think it is going to be New York. I think the Mets are going to value what Strowman gave to them, and they're going to offer him a pretty good contract. And I think the other thing with the Blue Jays, I'm surprised Strowman has interest because Toronto traded him away to the Mets while he still had years of control in his contract. And wasn't he kind of bitter towards Toronto when that happened?
Yeah, he went after him.
So
yeah.
I don't know why all of a sudden he's lovey-dovey with Toronto. And I'm really not like what I'm seeing now. All of a sudden, it kind of looks like we're getting a little bit of a Trevor Bauer offseason from Marcus Stroman, where, Bauer would put on the Angels hat, he put on the White Sox hat, he put on all these different hats saying, I want to go to – I'm not saying he wants to go to this team, but still be relevant with that team. He'd be like, Angels fan, do you up? Stuff like that. And I feel like Marcus Stroman is kind of doing the same thing, because now in this playoffs, all of a sudden he's talking about how good Toronto is, how good the Cubs are. Like, he's mentioning all these teams on social media. So I don't know if he's probably doing just to bring his price up, act like he has all these suitors, and try to get the fan base to pressure these organizations. Try to get Padres fans to be like, oh, we should get Marcus Stroman. But I just don't see how that would make sense for the Padres, because and not only do they have pitchers, but they gave up so much to get Blake Snell. They gave up a good amount to get Yu Darvish, to get Musgrove, they didn't Clevenger back. They already have Paddock. So it's like the Padres have a lot of pitchers. So, I mean, why would you spend all that money to Marcus Stroman when you already have Machado on a big contract? You have Tatis on a big contract. You have Eric Hosmer on a big contract. Eventually, you got to pay Cronenworth, I would think. So, I mean, the Padres, how much more are they realistically going to spend? What are they going to do with Adam Frazier? So, I think that the Padres don't make too much sense to me. The Cubs are an interesting one, but, would Marcus really want to go to the Cubs over the Mets? And don't forget, Marcus Stroman is from New York. Take that for what it's worth. Some people say he wants to go to the Yankees, but I've seen him bash the Yankees plenty on social media as well. So, Mark, like you said in the beginning, Mets fan, Marcus Stroman is such a weird guy. He seems like he's kind of bipolar. He's like, oh, I didn't want to come to the Mets. Oh, I do want to be with the Mets. So, I don't really know I don't want to read too much into his social media. So, I think that the Mets have the money. He's been here before. Like I say, he's from New York. And I just don't think some of those other teams are good fits. Now, could there be some mystery suitors that could surprise us? That could happen with any free agent, especially with starting pitching. So I think that the Blue Jays want to keep their own guy in Robbie Ray. You'd want to do the guy who did for you most recently, that just won a Cy Young for you. So I think they would value Ray over Stroman. So I think most likely fit is here.
Okay. Well, what you just said about Strowman, he might block you because he's everywhere. He's looking to block anyone.
I'm like the last. One of the last has his group left that has not been blocked by him.
Yeah, he blocked me. I don't even know what the hell I did.
I know.
I probably went after maybe McCann, but I don't know. I use code name. I use McChicken and McChicken shit. So I don't know. Maybe he's not.
Maybe you thought you were talking about McNeil.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. But for me, Strowman's going to stay with the Mets. And I think he's gained a lot of respect from Mets fans after being kind of like the Iron Man of the roster this year. Aside from the Twitter comments or whatever, that's whatever. This personality, again, like I said with Correa, it's New York, right? And I know everyone's concerned about giving him that 25 million, 26 million, maybe 27 million AAV to a two-starter at best. But let's take this into account for a second. Strowman took a qualifying offer at $18.9 million to prove his free agency value. He was the most reliable and healthy, reliable meaning healthy, so, availability.
And also good. Reliable and healthy and good.
Good.
It's one thing to make every start, but if you suck, what's the point of even starting? It's like Jared Eichhoff. He made his starts, but he wasn't any good. At least Strowman made the starts and was a
I'd say he had 5 to 6 below average starts this year. And that's out of 30 something. So he's been the only guy on this starting staff, and you're telling me that's not worth a $6 million AAV raise? Come on now for a second. Now, he is 30 years old, and it could be a risk to lock him down at 5 years or 6 years. But like I've said before, his pitching style is very unorthodox, and it's a possible token for that longevity that a lot of pitchers really crave, even though it is the most injured position in the game now. Now, the reason why I say that is because Strowman came back after opting out last year. The 60-game season did a big toll on a lot of these players. You had a lot of injuries. Some of the best players in baseball were injured all year, including Mike Trout, who was the face of baseball, or if you say it was Tatis, but it was, there you go. It was Mike Trout. So tons of up-downs for these players this year, right? That they didn't experience last year. The fact that Strowman comes in didn't even experience any up downs last year in a 60-game season. And he was the healthiest out of everybody on your roster, right? It proves that he is worth a long-term deal. He is worth a shot to be that longevity piece. He has a chance to have that consistency throughout his career of being, going into his 40s, the Adam Wainwrights, the Charlie Mortons, the Rich Hills of baseball. Strowman is someone that I think he can do that, and I firmly believe that if he comes back to the Mets, he will do that and be that consistent pitcher that that he's been this year, and that he has shown to be and showed shades of in Toronto and before he was with the Mets. So that's what I think. I think he's staying in New York. Frank, what did you?
Yeah, I want to add two more things about Marcus Stroman. I've seen a few people complaining about the AAV, 25 million, 26 million. I think you have to look at what the market is for starting pitchers, what starting pitchers have got. You look at Trevor Bauer getting 40 million. Marcus Stroman at 25 million compared to Bauer at 40 is a steal. I mean, let's just call it what it is. And the other guy that Marcus Stroman, I think, has the most similar trajectory to, this may surprise people, but I feel I said before, Bartolo Colon. Marcus Stroman has a similar pitch mix, and he has a similar pitch break. That horizontal two-seamer trying to dot up the corners, that was Bartolo's bread and butter. And Bartolo pitched to a very old age, we know as Met fans. And at the very similar velocity that Marcus Stroman throws now, that low 90s kind of mix. So I think that's another guy you could look at as a blueprint. And the way Marcus Stroman treats his body with, like you said, his stretching, all those different regimens, you see him while he's pitching, he's always stretching, he's always moving around a little bit, staying loose. That's how you prevent all these hamstring and soft tissue injuries we see with all these players. So the fact that Marcus Stroman puts so much pride into his body, that's also going to help you on a long-term contract and being able to stay healthy.
Yeah, I've told this story multiple times about when I saw him at that doubleheader with the Rockies. I mean, I think I said this on Reckless actually a few days ago. I basically got to see him, like walk around the mound and like him basically prepping himself. And I say this, if you ever get to see Strowman pitch, he's always moving and he's always keeping himself like in that state of mind where like, okay, we're keeping it going. We're keeping it going. He stays at his own pace, no matter how many base runners he gives up. He has a tough start. He's on to the next one, and he's mixing himself up. Tony, did you have something to say? Or I don't know. I saw you like raise a finger or something. Tony? No? Okay. So next one, which I think, God, we'll see. It might be obvious. I don't know. Javier Baez, El Mago. Where's he going? Hayden, where's he going?
Oh, Javier Baez is obviously, I think, one of the biggest persons of interest on the market. Obviously, I think he's probably going to identify as a shortstop. That way you could make more, the Benjamins, more money, of course, rather than a second baseman. Probably not going super high on the free agent market. Probably Marcus Simeon's going to do the same thing. If you were to ask me, should the Mets sign Javier Baez when they first picked him up in July, maybe even August, I would say no. Obviously, I was a dude who originally was not big on Baez. Obviously, we know why, because of the whole, you're moving the guys around, you throw McNeil under the bus, that leaves some animosity with McNeil and Baez and the front office, and it was a whole bungle of nonsense. Now, obviously, things have changed, and I really hope Javier Baez stays with the Mets. If he could play like how he did in the second half, that would be amazing. And then you have everyone else offensively producing. That would really be a great playoff contending team there. This dude seems like he knows how to play under pressure. He has the swag. He has the drip. Defensively, he's fine. He makes a lot of throwing errors. So does Bichette. So does Tatis. Try to work on it. He has great range. If the possibility is that he goes over to third base, if Correa is not signed or whoever else isn't signed, that's a possibility too. In terms of the bat, he's taking more pitches, so that means pitchers are going to have to start pitching in the zone. Hence, he's going to be hitting the ball more. Like I said, he's striking out less. He's chasing a lot less. He's going the opposite way more. We saw that in the second half. He hits for some power. I'll apologize. He does hit for some power. I just didn't want him getting over Alonso, which he didn't, so I'll admit it now. Overall, Baez, I think he will stay with the New York Mets. His friend, Francisco Lindor, and Uncle Stevie, who makes all the moves, will re-sign him.
Yeah, guys, give us your predictions in the chat as well. I know you guys have been doing it, but if you're watching, we got tons of people in here watching from 3 different platforms. So come on, let's get those. Let's get those predictions. You guys can do it as well. Where's Hobby going? Andrew, where's he going?
Yeah, he's got to stay. We got to have that Puerto Rican infield. So if you let him go, now we're already falling behind. So he's got to be resigned. Like I said last week, 7 by 160 is probably the lowest you're going to get him for. If it's a second baseman, that's the value what he's going to be. Again, he can't leave. Especially how that second half, and Frank has said it a bunch of times to players. If you do it in New York in a Mets jersey, it's more important and more valuable than a guy who you hope can hit in New York and hit in the Met uniform. So him showing that second half, you can't let this guy go. And I don't care about the goal of McNeil. You figure it out. You cannot split up the middle, and you hope to add the third baseman, and you get what I think all of us' fantasy offseason would be.
Yeah, and then you can always go cheap on a third baseman and get that guy from Cleveland who is also friends with Lindor. So there's also there's tons of options, obviously. Yeah, of course. So yeah, I know, but you gotta put the flair all in one bottle in New York. In one apple per se, the Big Apple. That's a good pun. Okay. Frank, where's Javi going?
Yeah, I agree. I think it's the Mets. I think Lindor is going to be clamoring to Steve Cohen, be like, please get my best friend back, Steve. Please, we're BFFs. Por favor, Steve. Por favor. And Steve Cohen be like, all right, Francisco, I guess we'll keep him. And also the fact that this is something that nobody's talked about, but when that whole thumbs down thing happened with Javi Baez, and then all of a sudden he took off, he played really well. He had that really good series in Washington against the Nationals. Steve Cohen literally tweeted, where are all those Baez Twitter experts now? They must have been off for the holiday weekend or something like that. It was Labor Day weekend. So Cohen knows that there were people at first that don't like Baez, all of a sudden do. And obviously Cohen likes Baez. And I think another reason why you have to bring him back, at least for me personally, is the sting of PCA would be so much more significant if you don't bring back Baez, because then you literally trade away one of your top 10 prospects for a 60-game season of Javier Baez, which really makes no sense. And I think that there were times when all these guys were struggling offensively. Baez, other than obviously we talk about Alonso and Nimmo, was the only guy producing. There were games where Baez literally kept the Mets in the game with everything he's doing on the offensive end, whether it's his hitting and his base running. So, and his defense. So he's literally keeping you in games. So he could just do so much for a team that helps you win. And I would love if somehow the Mets could turn Jeff McNeil into a Chris Taylor kind of player, a utility guy. I need McNeil at second base one day. I need McNeil left field. I need McNeil in right field. If somehow we could get him playing at third base, somehow we could do that again. That would be great. So I could give Jeff McNeil that role, and then I could have Javi Baez stay full term as a second baseman. And he's still pretty young. I think that's something that people are underestimating, is that Javi Baez is pretty young. And the other thing that I always say is in the Mets' advantage is just how many guys are out there. Somebody's getting Corey Seager. One's getting Trevor Story. Another guy is getting Carlos Correa. Maybe that's the Mets. We'll see. Someone else getting Marcus Semien. So I think that when it comes down to when it's all said and done, how many more suits is Baez going to have out there? What are you going to be doing? Bidding against yourself? That makes no sense. So I think eventually you'll be able to get Baez for a reasonable price, because it's not like these other guys are just going to go unsigned. So I think that the Mets will end up acquiring Javi Baez.
All right, Tony. Where is Javi Baez going?
This is probably the most difficult one for me. I want Javi Baez, but I don't know if I reasonably expect him to be in a Mets uniform again, because I think he's going to ask for the world in free agency. He had such a stellar second half with the Mets, 940 OPS, something like that. He was amazing, and I'd love for him to be in a Mets uniform, but he's going to probably be asking for upward of $240 million, at least for his starting price. I don't think he's going to get that. Frank, you really don't think he's going to ask for 220, 240?
He could ask for it, but he ain't getting it.
Right, but that's where it's going to begin. And there might be a desperate team that says, all right, we're going to do 200. And I don't know. Are you guys okay with
why would they do that if they could get Trevor Story, though?
What's that?
Why would they do that if they could get Trevor Story instead? especially because like I think Baez is the least attractive because of his strikeout problem. Like all those other guys, the Seager, the Story, the Correa, the Semien, they're all more complete players than Javier Baez. Like as much as Baez has good things, he does have some major flaws that are undeniable with that chasing and striking out.
Yeah, I agree with that. I just am a little concerned that he may price himself out with the Mets, depending on, you know, how much interest comes from him, how fast the other teams or the other shortstops sign with other teams. And just overall how the market goes. Yes, it does play in the team's favor. It's a buyer's market for shortstops. Doesn't, you know, could lower the price a little bit for the Mets. But I really can't say unequivocally, you know, with complete certainty that he will be a Met next year. I'd love it, but it's really going to depend on how the market plays out and what he ends up signing for. If it's 180 million, 170, no, I think I could do that for him. But, you know, if it crosses that threshold, it's going to be tough for me to pull the trigger with a lot of other needs. And let's not forget, 20 million going to Robinson Cano this year until they figure that situation out. So there's a lot up in the air for the Mets. And as I stated before, rotation is my biggest concern. Would love to have El Mago back, that being said.
Yeah, I mean, you think about it, if you don't have that Cano contract, you probably could just bring back Javi and then complete that Puerto Rican infield with no ease. You probably have like 15 million maybe over the luxury tax. I mean, it's crazy how much Brody Van Wegenen pretty much screwed us with that contract, even though we love our elite reliever. Is everybody gone? I think so, right?
Yeah. And don't forget, when they asked Francisco Lindor if Steve Cohen could afford it, Lindor was like laughing at it. He's like, yeah. Like they were like, well, could they afford your contract and Javi Baez? And Lindor was like, you know, like, and there's like Steve Cohen could afford it. And the way Lindor just like laughed at it makes me think that yes, they could afford the price tag on Baez.
All right, I'm trying to find a graphic I actually saw. I'm pretty sure Tony retweeted it today about the net worths of the owners. Pretty sure. I think I saw that, like, just, you know, as a reminder, basically. But you know what? Well, the showmanship will have to wait. There you go.
All I will say is, and that if it's basically a bar graph, and if you take a look, the Mets owner is far and away like triple anybody else. The next richest owner is worth $4 billion. Obviously, Steve Cohen, we know, is $14 billion. The only thing I want to say is, and I know we'll get to it later, CBA is up on December 1st. We have no idea what the league is going to look like next year. Is there going to be a floor? Is there going to be a cap? What is the luxury tax going to look like heading into the next CBA? So, you know, as much as it is nice to have the richest owner in baseball, there's a lot of things that could be changing in the next couple months. And that really could, I think, affect the way that not only our team spends, but the rest of the league as well.
Okay. All right. Well, I think Baez will stay with the Mets. I think I'm gonna go with Baez. I mean, there's the obvious here. We've all pretty much pointed this out. We all know Lindor is pushing for him to get extended. We all know that he's won pretty much the fan base over since that whole thing. Even though it's always stressful being a fan of this team, and he's established that he does like playing in New York. So I don't think he's just going to be. I don't think it'll be as hard to bring him back, but there is going to be a price that he asks for. I don't know if it's ego-wise, but it'll just be, you know, he's negotiating. He has a history of being a good player. So, I mean, he does deserve to be paid in that way. So I do think he's mostly probably the Mets' number one priority to resign, but we'll see what happens. Okay. All right, so I'll attempt to do this one without crying, but I have not tested if I'm ready to do this conversation. So you know what? We'll just do it. Before I let everyone go through, you know, I want the viewers, all of our viewers, to know right now that I really fucking hate this conversation, and I'm already dead inside for this entire topic. So Michael Conforto, where does he go? We'll start with. Who's going to hurt me the least? Let's see. I'll go. Oh, crap. Hayden. There you go. Why not?
Oh, well, Mets fan, I hate to break it to you. The bridge is crossed. I have kind of an interesting pick. This is a team that really had a shocking season, and that is the Seattle Mariners. They're a team that as you guys' faces, they're a team that really their expectations weren't crazy high. A lot of people expected them to be a third place team. Yes, Conforto, he is getting a qualifying offer. Hopefully you all have seen the clip. If you have that clip, Mets fan, you got to play it. No, actually, I should have said, Conforto, you're going to the Seattle Mariners. Get ready. The Seattle Mariners, I really think they can afford him. They have a huge enough gap in the luxury cap, depending if that goes on the CBA this offseason. If it doesn't, whatever. But they have a huge enough luxury cap to acquire him. They have the luxuries of the farm system. I know it's not a trade, but still, they have the room to work there. They have, obviously, a lot of the Mariners lineup is really stacked with righties, so I think Conforto is a left-handed batter. Makes sense. You throw him in the top of the order as a second, third, or even fourth hitter in that lineup. It works really well. Plus, you got to think about it. You throw him in right field at Safeco Park, I think is the name, or whatever it's called. You throw him out there with Jared Kalanick, Taylor Trammell. Great mentor, in my opinion. Michael Conforto with the Mariners would be a solid pick, in my opinion. And he grew up out west, so I think would be a great place.
Okay.
That's a good point. He is from Seattle. Yeah, that's true. That's interesting.
Okay. Frank, where's Conforto going?
The Chicago White Sox. I think that, you know what, they spend a good amount of money and they keep getting bounced in the first round. Do they love Adam Engel? I don't know. Do they? I mean, if they even want to DH Conforto, they could do that a little bit. They kind of, platoon Gavin Sheets. They'll use Andrew Vaughn. But I think Conforto is a good fit for them. Gives them a lefty bat. They have a couple switchers in that lineup. But I think they could use another lefty to balance out the Abreu, Tim Anderson, Luis Robert. So they could use a nice lefty. And I think Conforto would be a good fit there in Chicago. Like we said, I mean, if you really do intend on keeping Strowman and you do intend on keeping Baez, I just don't think there's really that much money left for Conforto, especially with Boris being his client. I think he is going to have a pretty high asking price. And not like Baez, he does not have the outfielder market that Baez has with the shortstop market. So Conforto does have that to his advantage. And he's not really as much of a flawed player as Baez, and he's also not going to give you any problems in the locker room. You don't have to worry about anything on Twitter or anything like that. So, Conforto definitely has his pluses to other organizations, getting him off a bad year, getting him to bounce back. So he has value, but I mean, we'll see. Unless Steve Cohen has that kind of money, then maybe he could get everybody. But I think eventually someone is going to have to leave. You can't get them all.
I don't ask for much, okay, people.
He looks pretty good in that uniform.
Tony, where is Conforto going?
He is going to be going to the Tigers. And I don't mean the AL Central rivals of the White Sox. I mean the Tigres de Cantaña Roo. It's a Mexican league team that plays in Cancun. And he's going to be great there. He'll still strike out 150 times. And if he doesn't go there, there's a chance, and I know you guys have seen this picture circulating on Twitter, there's a chance he might go and play for the Long Island Ducks under Wally Backman. And he will be electric with his 240 average and his 1-for-18 with runners in scoring position in September. And there he is, right there on the Long Island Ducks. You're starting right fielder for Wally Backman.
He does look good in that uniform.
He does.
He'll be playing with the likes of Ty Kelly, Robinson Cancel. Let's see who else.
Kirk Neuenhuis.
Kirk Neuenhuis will also be patrolling. That'll be quite a reunion. I don't know where he's going, but if he comes back to the Mets on a qualifying offer, I'll be happy with that. But I'm not giving this guy a long-term extension. Mets fan has completely tuned me out at this point, so I'll just leave it at that.
I'm prepping for something else, but also it's coming at a great time right now. So, all right, Andrew, I know you never mean anything, right? You never, never. Where's Conforto going?
I mean, the Long Island Ducks is a pretty good shot, but I have one better. It's called the Atlanta Braves. They need a right fielder. I know Ronald Acuna's coming back, but Adam Duvall's a free agent. Jock Peterson's a free agent. And who's the other guy? Jorge Soler's a free agent.
Drew Waters, isn't he?
Eddie Rosario as
He
well
was
as a
a
free
tender
agent.
candidate. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they have Drew Waters and Christian Pache, but they've waited 4 years for those guys to ever develop one a bat or two defensively. And wouldn't it just be funny if Michael Conforto goes to the Atlanta Braves, wins the Silver Slugger a la Travis d'Arnaud, makes an all-star team, hits 45 homers, hits 300 that we've waited for him to do, has more great MLB The Show cards, gotta throw that in there, and wins the National League East, wins World Series MVP to lead the Atlanta Braves to win the World Series with Ronald Acuna and a re-signed Freddie Freeman. So you will see Michael Conforto in those beautiful red Braves jerseys haunting the Mets, a la Travis d'Arnaud.
That would actually be painful. I mean, you think about what happened with Wheeler. That's the one time where, like, I'm willing to budge at my Conforto price. If the Braves get involved, I can't take that pain. That would be way too much pain. Because for a guaranteed fact he'll play well with the Braves. Like, you could take that to the bank. He'll play
And
well.
think about the defensive outfield. You move Acuna back to
It's the
center.
bank.
Oh, man. You're welcome, Carson.
Jesus Christ. Okay. I'll take the Mets hat off here, okay? And I'll be analytical on this one, okay? I have Conforto going to the Twins. And I think it's a perfect match for many reasons.
They both
I think
suck.
Byron Buxton. That's awesome. And then we get Byron Buxton.
All right, listen, I know you want to get rid of all the white guys, but all right. But the number one reason I have here for Conforto is that the fact that he's looking for a bounce back season, and so are they. They've also expressed a lot of interest of bringing in a left-handed bat and retooling that outfield because a lot of these guys are getting hurt. Were getting hurt last year. I hope it's not true, but I do have him going to Minnesota. I'm just patiently waiting for this all to just self-destruct and for me to just completely cry. So let's just move to a happy guy. Let's talk about Aaron Loop. A lead ERA this year. So where does he go? Let's start with Andrew. Where's he going?
Yeah, I think this is probably the second easiest guy for the Mets to re-sign. I think Syndergaard, we all think he's going to take the qualifying offer. A 35-year-old lefty, even though coming off a great year, is a hell of a lot easier to sign than guys like Baez and Strowman. Again, relievers are here to miss. So unless somebody is going to go way over for, again, like how Frank said, a one-year guy with an ERA sub-2 and give him a big offer for a 35-year-old lefty, I think this is probably the easiest to second easiest guy the Mets could retain and should retain. I'm going to say the Mets, and hopefully he can continue with Tampa Bay year, had a great year last year, and continue his success as he ages.
Okay, interesting. Let's go to Hayden. Where is Aaron Loop going?
Well, Aaron Loop, there it is. I have him re-signing with the New York Mets. Obviously, we picked up Loop on a one-year deal. This dude has had a stellar year. You put this dude in any situation, whether it's the first inning, the ninth inning, or the 12th inning, whatever the count is, whatever situation he's in, he could have bases loaded, nobody out, 3-0 count, he gets out of the inning, no damage. Overall, Aaron Loop has been great for this Mets team, putting up historic numbers, ERA, Sierra, FIP, all that great stuff. Looks marvelous. Loop, obviously, re-signing him, it's not going to be anything stressful. That could be easy. I have Loop sticking with the New York Mets. Great lefty in that bullpen. Obviously, you lost Justin Wilson. And obviously, that was, who cares? We got Aaron Loop. And Loop, nice lefty in this bullpen, carries it well.
Okay. Tony, where's Aaron Loop going?
Hopefully he stays with the Mets. He was great this year, as you guys all laid out. Obviously I've always said that relievers are kind of tricky. They can be year to year, but the guy was great, and I don't know how you don't bring a guy like that back. There's really nothing else to be said. You got to get it done. I don't know who. I mean, we didn't have huge expectations for him coming into this year. So, like, is it possible we find the next Aaron Loop in free agency? Certainly. But just the fact that he was so great this year, I don't see how you can't give him a great offer and try to bring him back. So hopefully he will be with the Mets next year.
Okay. Who did I miss? Frank? Where's Loop going?
I think he is staying with the Mets, but I do have a limit on him. I'm not going 3 years. I saw that burn us with Jerry's Familia. I think at Loop's age, 2 max, absolute max. And I also think with his age, and like we said, with relievers, when you put up that kind of year as a reliever and you're not a guy who's a perennial all-star, it worries me a little bit. I think that it would be really, really – because like Tony said, we had no expectations when we got Loop. So I think that if we have expectations that Loop is going to be even close to what he was this year, I think that's really unfair expectations for Aaron Loop. And the Mets worked him a lot this year. They had him pitch in the first inning, second, third, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Like he pitched in pretty much every single. He opened, he closed, he came in with runners on base, he came in with nobody on base, went multiple innings. Like the Mets really, because he pitched so well. I mean, the Mets had no choice because he was that reliable. And with someone, I think Haynes said about Justin Wilson, I worry about does he become an Justin Wilson, where Wilson pitched well for the Mets, and the Mets worked him so much that he was not nearly as effective and he got hurt. So, like we said, relievers could be inconsistent. So I think be careful what you do. Loop. He pitched so well, you have to bring him back. You know, like as a courtesy, like you did so much for us. Here's a contract, but you can't overpay to keep Aaron Loop because I think there is some risk in bringing him back. I don't think there's any guarantee that he's going to be really good again, but he was so good that you just have to do it.
Okay. Did I get everybody on Loop? Right. Okay. I do think he's going to stay with the Mets. I think as a 35-year-old reliever, Loop has kind of limited options in that money department right now. And I also believe the Mets see their shortage of lefties in that bullpen, and they're going to work out a deal with him. There might be a little bit of an overpay. I don't think, again, you still have Sandy there, so he's still going to give him his, but you might have a little bit of an overpay. Like if you're looking at $6 million, he's probably going to get $7 million. If you think he's going to get $6.5 million, he's probably going to get $7.5 million. Like that's what I'm seeing. Me and Andrew were doing this in our stream just a few days ago. We were doing a spreadsheet kind of off-season simulation, and we kind of did like kind of a 1-in-1 deal, kind of a mutual option in the second year. Mutual options, by the way, in free agency, those have to be more of a thing. Like they have to be more of a thing. It's good for the player and it's good for the team because like it just needs to. It needs to be more of a thing. I like mutual options. I do think those should be invested in a lot more. And to be honest, I think if Sandy knew a lot about mutual options, he would abuse the crap out of it. So as for, Aaron Loop, I think we're all seeing him go to the Mets. Let's go to another reliever. Now, I think we first have to introduce him the right way because this might be his last.
That song! That stupid fucking song! The name's on the board.
Okay. Familia. Jerry's Familia. That was the clip I was searching for this entire stream, by the way. Yeah. Listen, my showmanship, I never give up on that stuff. All right. So Familia, where is he going? Let's start with the biggest Familia fan out there, Tony Metro.
Yeah, I don't know why I've been dubbed as that because, yes, I hated him entering this season, and I hated him for pretty much ever since 2016. But he really pleasantly surprised me in the first half. He was not very good in the second half, though. This ship has sailed. He's like in his 9th or 10th year. I'm done. I know he just said a couple days ago on his Instagram, like something about like the Mets are tattooed in his heart. He can't see himself pitching anywhere else. I'm sorry, you're I can't do it I can't do it anymore, dude. Like my blood pressure has gone up double. Every time this guy comes in to pitch, it goes up. He's got to go. I'm done. I'm not signing the guy unless it's like for $3 million, which we all know he's not signing for. So I'm sorry, Uri's. It's been nice. I wish I could say it's been nice. It really hasn't. And goodbye. Adios.
Where do you got him going? You got anybody specifically going anywhere, or
dude, anybody? I mean, look, he's got a live arm. He's got nasty movement. He just doesn't know where it's going. And he got bit by the home run ball in the second half this year. Usually it was the walks. So there's not one thing, it's the other with him. I'm sure someone will pick him up, but it's going to be for like a lower leverage role, like, a 6th, maybe 7th inning role, depending on how he pitches throughout the year. Could honestly be anybody. Because as we always say, it's like throwing a pasta at the wall. You just hope it sticks. See what sticks in the bullpen. I don't know. Pasta.
That's the first object.
Aren't any of you a bunch of guineas like me? Throw pasta at the wall. If it sticks, that means it's ready. Whatever. That's it.
Yeah, I used to do that back in my day. Andrew, where's Familia going?
This just screams Tampa Bay Rays. It just screams. One, like, I think it is going to be a cheap deal because, again, either there or Milwaukee. Those are the two teams I could see him going and then just turning him into what we've wanted him to be. It just, again, the Rays just are a pitching factory. Any person that goes there, puts that uniform on, touches that mound, can get outs. And, we've all said he's got the stuff. He just needs to harness it. I don't think there's any better place for him to harness that than Tampa Bay.
Andrew, if I could just say, I think Milwaukee already has enough issues with their pitchers punching things. So
that is true.
I don't know if they want to bring in Uri's.
That is true. Yeah, you got me on that.
Oh, yeah. He went Amari Stoudemire, Devin Williams. That's right.
He did.
That's right.
And we all know about Uri's Familia's history. Much worse, but.
Ooh,
Tony really going full heel on Jerry's Familia.
He's unraveling all of it because he knows that contract's done. You
want to cut out, but you were going to me. I think Jerry's Familia, if he's smart, he would join Michael Conforto with the Tigres. I think that would be a good fit for Jerry's Familia. Should not be in the major leagues. But I think that for some reason the Angels, I don't know, the Angels like to get random pitchers, and Jerry's Familia is about as random as they come. So I'm going to say the Angels. I hope it's not the Mets. Like, he's run his course. Like, he has good moments, and, like, as soon as you start to trust him, he just gives up a home run to Jazz Chisholm, and you're like, you know what? Forget it. I'm done with Familia. So, like, and that's where it bothers me. Is like, he'll give you, like, a great outing, but you just never know when he's going to strike. And I feel like if the Mets ever do get back to the playoffs, it's going to be a random playoff game. Familia's cruising. All right, we got 2 outs, about to get the inning. Home run. Oh, and now the Mets lost. Like, I just can't take that risk anymore, so I'm done with him.
You're still
out. Yeah. Did anyone not go yet? All right, Hayden, go ahead.
Frank taking authority.
So I think there's one good thing that we could say about Jeurys Familia.
Familia, remember you're a Brody guy!
All right, point of that video. What happens to Brody guys? They go skadoosh, bye-bye, auf Wiedersehen. Jeurys Familia, people wanted him gone off the Mets even when he was with the Oakland Athletics and had a stint there. Jeurys Familia has been a guy who, like Tony said, and I'll echo him, had a solid first half of the season. But during the offseason, before the season started, he was being put in the same conversation as Dellin Betances. And honestly, it makes sense now. This is a dude who just walks the whole ballpark from Citi Field to Yankee Stadium to Dodger Stadium. No more of him. Auf Wiedersehen. Goodbye. Where will he go? Anywhere but the Mets.
Okay. Can everybody hear me now? That's good. USB mics are war criminals. Okay. Yeah, somebody brought up actually Brandon Lau, and I actually looked this up the other day, and I do want to share it. He might be the worst postseason hitter of all time. 120 plate appearances in 120 plate appearances in his career, and granted, this guy is 26 years old right now. in the postseason, 16 WRC plus. I just want to point that out because that's insane. I know, and he's had good, consistent seasons, right? How many homers?
2.
5.
Oh,
5.
2 in one game though in the World Series.
Yeah, there you go. Bad batting average.
Bad batting average. Holy crap! 115 in the postseason. Yeah, that is pathetic. Okay. God, so much going on right now. Did I get everybody with Familia right now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Our Frank got Hayden while my mic was fucking up. All right, I have Familia going to the Twins as well as Conforto.
Oh.
And that's because of how inexperienced their bullpen has seemed to be. They just don't seem ready. There's a lot of arms, like they've talked about how like they're not really like ready to be on a major league mound, but they have experience. They just haven't unlocked the potential. Maybe he'll be a good, I mean, aside from Kenta Maeda in their rotation, their bullpen, not really much besides Rogers, right? Rogers? Yeah. Okay. So it could benefit the Twins in a good way. I don't know. Just don't really come back to the Mets. I don't want another contract like that, please. So yeah, let's move on from Familia. We're moving on from him as Mets fans. We're moving him on. The Mets should move on from him, and we're moving on from him as a topic right now to Jonathan VR, who is a very interesting one. And there has been a story that came out today, actually, how the Mets are having interested in bringing him back. But there's a lot of teams that could be of use that have maybe lost their shortstop on the big market. And they could be a long-term, short-term, maybe fix for them. Now, we'll see. But there's a lot of options here. So where is Jonathan VR going? Let's start with the Jonathan VR fan club leader, Frank About Sports.
I think VR, I mean, you could correct me if I'm wrong on this, but I think an interesting fit from with Oakland Athletics because I think Oakland, they have a little bit of an opening at shortstop. I don't see them giving a ton of money to get, the Seager, the Story, the Bias, the Correa. So I think they'll be looking more under the radar, a guy that could play the position okay, even though VR played hardly any shortstop this year. And I think that's not his best position anymore at this stage in his career. But maybe Oakland takes a look at him just to have somebody to fill in. Because like Oakland always does, they stay competitive, but don't go all the way. That's their mantra. They'll be in the playoffs. They'll be right in the playoff race, but they're not going anywhere. And that's what VR will do. He'll give you just enough. And that's what he did for the Mets. He was just enough. But I don't think that this is a guy that should be your starting third baseman for most of the season. He's not that good. He does good things, though. I like the role I envisioned VR was as a utility guy. A guy that starts sometimes, not a guy that is your everyday third baseman because VR's defense is not good enough. And on the bases, if he's not going to be stealing bases, he has no purpose being on the bases because he's just going to find a way to get himself out. So if you don't send VR, he will just get picked off. So the Mets did not use him right at all. Bob Melvin loves to send guys, so he would send VR. So I think that Oakland is the best fit.
Yeah, and Choklin might move on to Las Vegas. There's been a lot of rumors recently. I mean, the football team, that Choklin thing, that's pretty much moved on to Vegas. So, yeah, I'm not salty at all. Jonathan VR, Hayden, where's he going?
Damn, Frank, you had to steal my thunder on the Oakland A's. Come on. I know we were talking about it before in the chat, and I did mention it. So hopefully maybe I got you some inspiration there. But yeah, I'm going to say the Oakland Athletics also. I kind of wanted to say the Mets. We know that the Mets and VR have been conversing recently. But the thing that I don't see happening is I don't think the Mets could guarantee VR a spot every day. I think Villar, he's what, like 33, 34 now. I think he's a dude who's going to want to play every day. And realistically, on a winning team for the Mets, I don't see him playing. Second base is locked, shortstop is locked, and VR, third base on a World Series contending team, that's not a World Series contending team to me, in my opinion. I would love him on the bench. I just don't think he's going to stay. So that's why I think the Oakland Athletics are a great choice. As we know, a DH position could be possible for him. I mean, Mitch Moreland, he's done on his contract, and he was completely disappointing this season for them. And then obviously, like you said, you could throw him anywhere. You could throw him at second base. So who knows what happens with Jed Lowry. Obviously, shortstop, they had Elvis Andrews, traded him away. You could throw in there. I mean, you have Matt Chapman at third base, so that's kind of nice. VR Chapman, left side of the field. And yeah, Oakland Athletics is my pick.
All right. Tony, VR? Where's he going?
Yeah, Hayden, you nailed it. I was going to say, I just think he's going to go and get a starting gig from a different team. I'm pretty sure he would want to start for somebody, and I don't think the Mets can guarantee him that. So I don't really have a specific team, but he will probably go somewhere, I think, wherever he's going to get guaranteed the most playing time in a starting position somewhere. And with that, guys, I actually have to go, so I'm sorry, but I need to sign off. Softball.
Hit some dingers.
I'll hit a couple for you. Not really. I'll probably pop up a bunch.
Okay.
The Michael
All right,
Conforto special.
That's on the ground. Stop it. Line drives on the ground. Stop it.
They play a shift on Tony during softball. He just keeps.
Could you imagine being that much of a tryhard? Could you
Tony?
like? That's crazy.
Step up to the plate like Ken Griffey Jr.,
Anybody else go on VR?
Andrew.
Oh, Andrew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had this written down earlier today, and I thought about it all day. I'm like, this doesn't work. And Frank talking about the base running decisions, and I'm like, this doesn't work. But I want some chaos, and his team may be starting to show some chaos. I want him on the Cardinals because Paul DeJong, besides playing the Mets, sucks. They did use Armando Sosa, which his accuracy of drilling umpires in the face, he loves doing that.
Not good MLB The Show.
Not good in MLB The Show.
That is brutal.
He's just brutal. But again, there's an opening. There are rumors that they maybe want to go big game hunting in the shortstop market, but do I see the Cardinals again for a third straight year going for a big guy after Goldschmidt, after Arenado? I think VR could be a platoon guy with Sosa. And again, more switchers. They like to switch hitters with Edman and Carlson. Bring some balance. The Cardinals are historically a very fast team. They like to send their runners. And also, I need to hear the
Lou
Cardinals.
Brock back in the day.
Lou Brock, Vince Coleman, Willie McGee, the young guy. I'm making Frank all excited. But I need to hear. Oh boy, I need to hear the Cardinals announcers bitch and moan about VR's base running. So for a personal reason, I need Jonathan VR on the St. Louis Cardinals.
Okay. All right. I think we're down to our last 3 free agents, and then I think we're going to go into.
You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. What about Minnesota? Could he go there too?
Because they moved Polanco back to second, so I guess. But they have Royce Lewis.
I haven't voiced my pick yet.
Are they going to call him up, or
he's had Tommy? He's just injury prone. He had Tommy John last year. Who knows?
All right. Well, I'm going to go off the point that I made before everybody went, and I'm going to go with a team that might lose their starting shortstop to the free agent market. That's huge. And I'm going to go with the Astros signing Jonathan VR. It makes sense since they didn't want to pay Springer. They basically closed the book on Correa. They basically said no. So VR could be a short-term option for them. I know they have that. Do they have that shortstop prospect or something, or is it an outfield prospect? He's fast. I know that.
He's fast, but their farm system isn't great. So even the guys,
it's not amazing. Yeah. But they do draft pretty well. It's just like they draft a lot of young guys.
Hey, they'll have the 14
I think VR will come here. We'll go to Houston and we'll get Correa. So we'll just basically trade off guys, but
and a draft pick. It's a good trade too.
There you go. Tony got sucked into softball. That's what happened.
I thought that was going somewhere else.
There, so I was just like, what it's actually doing. I was gonna make a joke, and then I said sucked, and I was like, nah, that's gonna go somewhere really bad. All right.
Think so.
Ooh, okay. 3 more guys left here of our free agents, and then we'll go into some viewer questions. We were talking about doing that off-season simulation, but I think that should be a full-on stream type of thing. Maybe we'll do it on Andrew's channel, maybe during the week. But let's go to Rich Hill, Dick Mountain. The grit is through the roof, and he's got the heart of a rhino, right? I mean, he's got it, right? Okay. Where does the rainbow curve go? Rich Hill, where's he going? Mets talk with Hayden.
Rich Hill, Dick Mountain, where should he go? Call me crazy, but I wouldn't be. That is true. I wouldn't be opposed, and really, I would not be super upset if he resigned with the Mets. I think he honestly had a great season with the Mets. He is a lefty. You could obviously, I would want him as a bullpen pitcher. Obviously, you do not want him in the starting role. He's much older. He can only give you 3 to 4 solid innings, but he still has the stuff. Nasty pitches. I mean, he'll throw like a 70-mile-per-hour slider, like just completely nasty. Like, who does that? He has that grind. He has that grit. I would like him in the bullpen. Him and Aaron Loop. I mean, I could see the memes blowing up. But realistically, I would like that.
Okay. Frank, where's Rich Hill going?
I don't know. This is a bit of a weird one, but I'm going to say the San Francisco Giants. They like their veteran players. You know, they got a bunch of old guys. So why not get the oldest guy in the league, Rich Hill? You can never go wrong with a lefty. I feel like the way that Gabe Kapler's been using his pitchers in this series, you know, he likes to use a lot of different pitchers. I think they would find a way to utilize Rich Hill. San Francisco has a very weird style of play. They're very analytically driven. So I think that they would find the right matchups for Rich Hill with that big breaking ball. You know, you got your weird pitchers like Wood and Rogers. So, I mean, why not continue with the weirdness, get yourself a Rich Hill on the team?
Okay. Andrew, where's Dick Mountain going?
What's the reunion we all want? It just makes sense for his time in his career. The opening day starter for the Long Island Ducks. It needs to happen. Sell the tickets. It just makes too much sense. Obviously, I would love it. Like Hayden said, an extra lefty for the Mets. Wouldn't mind it. You know, maybe he goes back to the Dodgers. The Dodgers, maybe, who knows? But I think the best place for him, especially at his age, just go back to where, you know, you got your career rejuvenized with the Long Island Ducks. They'll give you a decent little contract, and hell, they'll give you a bobblehead, opening day bobblehead of Rich Hill. It just makes too much sense.
Why are you messing with legends right now, man? This is just all right. I originally had him on the Mets, but I think it's possible, like as a spot starter, as a long relief guy, that he would come back to the Mets. He says he's open, that he wants to come back and not retire. But I have seen some Twitter posts, some articles about a team wanting to bring in a veteran starter to mentor these young prospects that they have coming up. And then they're mostly likely to be key pieces to their rotation. And that team is the Orioles. Now, you look at their projected rotation, you look at a lot of starting options. They have a lot of young guys coming up, prospects like DL Hall. They're most
Grayson Rodriguez.
Yeah. So you have guys that are most likely going to make their debut this year who have no experience. So if he doesn't come back to the Mets, I think the Orioles will be in the hunt for him. I think that's something that they would like. Obviously, they have John Means, who's probably their number one right now. But yeah, I think Rich Hill might actually do well with the Orioles as kind of a mentor. I think he did fairly well with some of these young guys for the little time that he was here. And yeah, I would love Rich Hill back. And I do also want to go on to some visuals real quick and look and just show Rich Hill's release points. Like this is beauty. What I call beauty. And listen, it's not good to have release points like this. But Rich Hill, dear Lord, he's like the exception. It's like you just don't know what's coming because he has like 2 pitches from one release point and there's 2 pitches from another one. You just don't know what's going to happen. He's unpredictable by being predictable. It's just crazy. I love Rich Hill. One of my favorite pitchers to ever watch. I love his curveball. It's my favorite pitch of all time. Love it.
You're really trying to ruin Adley, aren't you? You know, you're just going to ruin his frame rate. You know, you got all these different. You're trying to ruin the best catching prospect.
Is he going to be up? Is he?
Yeah, he'll be up. He'll be up at the All-Star break.
Oh, yeah, he's in AAA. That's right. Oh, Q. All right, let's go to another lefty.
Elite lefty. Come on.
Brad Hand, Brad Foote, former All-Star, big saves, makes big, good closer. So apparently he deserved the closer role for the Mets last year, right? Over Diaz, right? And everybody punched a wall when he went to DC. And then the Mets got Brad Hand. And so where will Brad Hand go? We'll start with Frank About Sports.
This is a team that I feel like they always have a bit of a shuffle in the bullpen. They always have a bunch of different guys in there. So I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Reds. I think the Reds are maybe one of the few teams that could offer him a closer if that's something he's still asking for, which he didn't earn in the second half of the season. I mean, he started off the first month of the year was good with the Nationals, but as the year progressed, he got worse and worse. Is the 60-game season, is it him aging because his velo was down a little bit? All that's possible. So I think that Cincinnati is a team that they're always just shuffling so many different relievers. I could see him winding up there. It goes back to the Central, even though he's in the American League Central. I think that's the only team that would give him a shot to really be an effective contributor to their team.
Okay, now before we're an hour and 45 minutes in here. So before we move on, I want everybody to leave a like on the stream. That'd be awesome. Leave a like on this stream, on the stream that's going on Frank's channel and Tony's channel, even though he just left, it's still going up on there. So yeah, guys, leave a like, show your support. These are every week on Thursday. Hayden, Brad Hand, where is he going?
Brad Hand, I don't really have too much thought into him, obviously, just to echo everyone else. He really did not have the best season, obviously. We saw the combination of the fastball and the slider, the velocity dip. Obviously, he didn't earn the closer role like everyone stated. Personally, he said in Washington, D.C. when the Mets played there and he was on the Mets, he said the closer role really wasn't something he was super obsessed with. Obviously, that was a bunch of BS. His whole season and part of his career pretty much changed. Do I think he's necessarily done? No, absolutely not. He has time to improve. I could see him going to some random team. Honestly, I could see a team like the Rays or the Padres trying to pick him up, trying to fix him a little bit. Because I really think he has potential. I mean, we saw it in the short season. We saw when he was, I think he did pitch for the Padres also. So yeah, honestly, I could see some type of reunification there. He's an easy fix. Just not with that feel.
Okay. Where is Brad Foote going, Andrew? Where is he going?
Well, we're talking about elite Brad Hand, and I wish my buddy King Shark was here because he'd say his name great. But I think there's one spot I think we're all like blindly missing. They're going to need a closer. And they are always known for having an elite bullpen with former All-Stars. And they need it. Their closer's a free agent. And because Brad Hand is so elite, he'd fit perfect in the Philadelphia Phillies bullpen. He would fit perfect. Yes. They love great relievers. He's made a few All-Star games. I mean, he's great at baseball. If you look at, basic stats, besides this year, this was a watch, but he's been how many All-Star games? He's been to 3 All-Star games. The Phillies.
Did MLB the show card?
No, he doesn't. He's actually batting practice. At least when I face him. I love facing me some Brad Hand, but it just makes sense. The Phillies want elite bullpen arms, and that elite bullpen, Brad Hand would fit perfectly with the Philadelphia Phillies.
Awesome. Okay, well, I'm surprised this has not been said. This sounds like an A's move to me. I'm going to tell you right now. Y'all know what I mean? Like, this sounds like an A's move. A guy who has a good amount left in the tank, but has fallen off recently, and his value kind of dropped. You've seen them do that with Fernando Abad a couple of years ago. You've seen them do that with Joakim Soria. Sergio Romo is another one that they've done that with. So it looks like a deal that they can just, make on the cheap for a high reward. Yeah, so I have Brad Hand going to the A's. I think that's a possibility. All right, let's go to the final free agent, Heath Hembree. Okay, this is the analytical love child of Baseball Savant pages. So where is he gonna go? Andrew, where's he gonna go?
Well, if the nerds love him, he just needs to go where the nerds are loved, and that is the Tampa Bay Rays. The fact that he hasn't been a Ray yet, and all you analytical darlings and freaking weirdos who love that shit, and how the Rays have not picked him up when he was legit free, that the Mets picked him up, maybe is kind of a side. He's not really that good if the Rays don't want him, but he does kind of scream if he were finally, the Rays would probably be the best spot for him.
And he stole my pick. Thank you. Frank, where's Heath Hembry going?
The Rays do make sense because, like I said, the whole analytical aspect. But I'll go another team. I'll say the Milwaukee Brewers. I think the Brewers do a pretty good job with fixing some relievers. They did with Hunter Strickland that the Rays could not fix. So maybe they'll give Heath Hembry a shot as well. I mean, they love their bullpen.
Okay. Hayden, where's Heath Hembry going?
Yeah, I'm also going to go on that Tampa Bay Rays train. Obviously, Heath Hembry, kind of an easy fix to an extent. I mean, his slider's pretty on point. Obviously, the command is an issue, and obviously he does have a reputation of walking a lot of batters, which is something as a relief pitcher you do not want to do. So, I mean, pretty much just try to get the command and limit those walks, and I think overall he's a fine pitcher. Tampa Bay Rays, notorious for fixing pitchers. I'm also going to say the Tampa Bay Rays.
Okay, well, I said Tampa, but I'd love to have him back on the Mets. Just saying, there's no motivation behind that. So, but he has a bad ERA. So yeah, final piece of the puzzle would be to be elite, to go to the Tampa Bay Rays. Yeah, but I do want him back, but if he does go to the Rays, they'll end up trading him for another Wander Franco or Tyler Glasnow. I mean, we all know this is going to happen. So yeah, that's where I got him going. I'm going to see if we have any viewer questions. If you guys have any questions, leave them in the chat as well. We'll also use that as a source. But let's see something that can have multiple answers, multiple possibilities. That's what we're looking for. If you're watching right now for the last 10 minutes, we'll do 2 questions and then we're going to head off and probably chill and watch the Dodgers hopefully lose to the Giants. Okay. I have one question here.
Okay.
This is gonna be tough. This is gonna be a tough one, but it's the end, so whatever, we can escape afterwards.
Okay.
Okay. How would you rate the first year on a scale of 1 to 10 in the Cohen ownership? God damn it. Okay. Frank, we'll start with you. 1 to 10.
I mean, on the surface, it looked good. It was off to a good start. But listen, when you had expectations of being a pretty good team and you finished with 77 wins, I'll give it a 3. I mean, they did some things, I guess, but it just seems like all the moves they made just weren't good. A lot of the reason why the Mets struggled this year was who they got in the offseason. McCann, Lindor. I mean, Trevor May had his bad moments. I mean, Luis Rojas was not the manager. You got rid of the GM, getting rid of the assistant GM. So it's like whatever the Mets did, like whoever they brought in, it just didn't work. So I think that when you look at it's a results business. And when we thought, this is a team that maybe not going to win the division, but they'll at least be in the wild card, at least be close to 90 wins. When you finish with 77, when you're worse than you were in 2019, that's a 3.
Okay. Hayden, what do you got for Cohen's first year?
So I think it's probably best I plead the 5th on this question. So I will evade this question and you will go to Andrew. How does that sound? To avoid, yes.
Okay.
We know.
Andrew, what do you got here?
Yeah, 3, I guess. As much as we love McChicken, he sucks. Lindor had a bad batting average. Trevor May had a bad ERA. Miguel Castro still has a job. What's it called? They brought in Brad Hand. Baez was good. Yeah, that's really all you can say. I mean, 3, maybe a 2.5.
Okay. I don't know. I think it can just change since the year's not over, technically, right? It's not 2022 yet. I don't know. I think they did a good job of just staying under the luxury tax, being monitored by the MLB. Other than that, it low Mets, yeah. So but hey, you're hopeful for next year. I guess I'd give it a 3-2, 3-4. Like that's about it. There were good moves, but they just didn't capitalize. That's basically how we described it. They did not capitalize. All right, so this is the last question. I don't know if we've answered this before, but it's probably not fresh in anyone's mind right now. I think we did answer this, but I guess we can answer it again. I don't know, because maybe there's some people in here who haven't heard any of our stories. How did you guys become Mets fans? We'll start with Mets Talk with Hayden. How'd you become a Mets fan?
So I became a Mets fan probably, I want to say I started watching the games to an extent with my dad when I was very young. So I want to say like 2004, 2005, when it was a year or two before they had their streak and went to the NLCS. I remember that like very vividly. Obviously, I don't remember the exact moments. But I want to say if I were to give you an exact year, I'd probably say somewhere between 04, 05. I kind of like skipped the Nickelodeon Cartoon Network phase of my life and kind of just hopped on that sports train. Like I was a really big sports kid growing up. I mean, I grew up in Manorville, New York, which is out east, so a lot of open land. So I just ran around with my neighbors playing baseball and throwing baseballs at the fence and footballs at the trees. So I was a big sports person when I was young. So I got into the Mets when I was really young. And this is going back obviously to the Jason Bay era, but that was way later. But I want to say around 2006. And how did I become a Mets fan? My dad's actually a Yankees fan. So to be honest with you, I don't know why I chose the Mets. I just think I was a Long Islander. I think David Wright was definitely a big influence. Jose Reyes was a big influence. And yeah, it's really, I mean, I know it's a really like basic question, but I've never really thought about it that much.
Okay. Frank, how'd you become a Mets fan?
Yeah, well, after the Brooklyn Dodgers and the New York Giants moved on, I was like, listen, I'm not going to root for the Yankees. I mean, they've got everything they ever wanted. Watching the days of Ruth and Gehrig and Mantle and all these guys, I was like, you know what? There's this new team coming on board. Let me give them a shot. So, I started watching the Mets. Right from the very beginning, 1962 was a really rough year that first year. No, but seriously, I've told the story before on the stream, but one day I was at my grandma's house. My dad was watching the Mets, and it was in 06, so they were playing pretty well. So then I was like, oh, Dad, what are you doing? He's like, oh, I'm watching the Mets. So I sat down, I watched with him. They played well. So we watched it again. And then, and then we just continually watch. So just progressively, I became a Mets fan because my dad was. So then ever since then, I've been watching them, unfortunately, and here we are now.
Do you regret?
Yes, I do. I'm going to make sure that my kid is not a Mets fan because it's too much pain. I want them to be happy in life. I don't want them to be miserable. I don't want them to say "Law Mets" 100,000 times. So I want them to bandwagon, get a bunch of championships, be happy. So that's what I want.
Traditions get passed down, though. That's the problem. The Rhino. How are you a Rhino with a Mets hat on?
Phillies.
Yeah, that's the part. There's a story to be told. I grew up in South Jersey. Like early in my life, I lived 10 minutes away from Philadelphia. So, and my dad usually had a decent amount of season tickets to the Phillies, so I'd go to a ton of Phillies games. But my dad is a diehard Mets fan. And as a kid, you're in Philadelphia, you don't worry the other team. Especially as a kid, you just fit in. I had my little Bobby Abreu Phillies jersey. But then once we moved back to the island, in around 05, 06, we got out of Jersey, we got out of Philadelphia, came to New York, and my dad bought me a black Carlos Beltran jersey, and it was an 05 to 06. And that Venom symbiote, as I'm going to call it, because it is a black jersey, has been stuck to me for a long time. But, I mean, Bryce Harper is a Philly, so I guess I could go back. I do love Bryce Harper, but I think I'm regressing. But, so, yeah. God, why did that jersey have to look so good, and why did he have to put it on?
Jesus Christ. It's like a drug addiction. I mean, the first team I think I remember watching was 2011, but like that was like the first one I remember. But for me, I'm a very obsessive personality type of person. When I'm obsessed with something, I'm on it. So I kind of invested my entire life into the Mets. My dad's an A's fan. He was an Oakland Raiders fan as well. So thanks, Dad, for that. But yeah, I'd say the Wright and Reyes era, when that kind of came to a close. I mean, that was when I kind of started to like watch even more and more and more. Then I'd say around 8th grade, 9th grade, started to get obsessed with video games, and kind of just was the sports video games kind of guy. And then I came back and I'm like, hey, let's do this. Let's just do this Mets Weekly thing every week. So that's where we're at right now. But yeah, that was pretty much where I became a Mets fan. So those are the two questions from viewers. Again, we have a simulation, off-season simulation, a spreadsheet that I have created. I'm going to do those for all 30 teams. I have 5 right now, but I'm going to be working on those on the weekend. Currently busy. But I'm going to let these guys tag whatever they need to. If you guys are watching on Frank's, Tony's channel, leave a like on all 3 of the streams. Why not? It's all free. But let's start with Frank about sports. He'll say goodbye to his channel and the other 2 channels as well.
Yes. So thank you for having me, and thank myself for having me, I guess, with the 3 channels. And thank you, Tony, for having me. He's playing softball while he's streaming. So that's pretty impressive. Yeah. But as you see, Frank about sports on the screen, as we know, when it comes to the Mets, there's going to be a lot of rumors, and there's going to be stuff to believe. There's going to be stuff not to believe. There's going to be a lot of crazy takes going out there. So if you want the honest, the full truth, the real information, Frank about sports is the place to be. So thank you for having me.
He might be a casual, but he calls it like he sees it. All right.
The eye test never lies. I got 20.
Eye test never lies.
The eye test never lies.
Yep, and that's how you start to develop a problem with ghosts in your house. Yeah. The Rhino himself, Andrew Acevedo, got something cooking? Let us know.
Not really. Got her just chilling. No, obviously we'll have part 2 of this stream. We did this last week with our way too early simulation of the Mets offseason. Maybe we'll see guys. Obviously, Mets fan will be there. Maybe some of the guys you see in the Mets Weekly crew will be there as well. Probably going to get that started again this weekend. Again, maybe what I would do is, if I was the president of Baseball Ops video, hopefully maybe I could try to record that this weekend as well. And again, maybe some game hockey streams. The Knicks do play on Wednesday. Maybe we do an opening night stream on my channel. Who knows? Maybe we'll watch along. Maybe some Rangers stuff. Maybe some Penguin stuff. More hockey. A little bit of AEW. I'll sprinkle a little bit of AEW because I am the All Elite Rhino. So it's just a little sprinkle. Nothing too crazy, but a sprinkle once in a while. And thank you for Carson, Frank, and Tony for 3 hosts. It's better than 1. LFGM, I guess.
Oh, yeah. 3 hosts is better than 1. Very overwhelming. A lot of stuff coming out from different directions, but I like this. Guys, let us know if you want us to do a multi-stream to 8 different countries. Okay. Hayden, what do you got planned for now? What's
going on, everyone? Mets Talk with Hayden is the name. Raging is the game. I think that's a pretty catchy catchphrase, so I'm just going to continue saying that from now on. Hopefully I won't have to, but if the Mets playing like this, I will. Yeah, please feel free to check me out, Mets Talk with Hayden. I do live streams pretty regularly for the most part. I do videos on predictions, news, updates, all of that great stuff. You can follow me on Twitter at Mets Hayden. Pretty active on there. I guess I want to thank Mets fan Frank and I guess the reincarnations of Tony, if he's still listening or whatever, for hosting. Great stream as always. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. I know it's a little late, but I did a second radio show with Reckless Airwaves. That was uploaded like a week ago. We talked about the postseason, which it's kind of wrapping up, but then we did talk about some offseason moves as well as the Yankees and Mets. So if you want to check that out, LFGM. Let's go Mets.
All right, guys, and I'm a Mets fan. I'm the analytical guy. I also did a Reckless Airwaves. I also did a Reckless Airwaves episode as well a few days ago. If you guys want to go check that out as well, talked about a lot of stuff for the Mets off season, which is probably going to be what we're talking about for the next week. Okay, I'm having a stroke. So, Mets Weekly, a lot of stuff coming out, guys, for the future. Guys, get ready for that. There's going to be some announcements coming out, hopefully within the next month. And guys, we'll see you in the next one. This was episode 31. Let's go Mets. Guys, thank you for watching. If you guys stick around for the entire stream, leave a like. Go subscribe to all of the guys, including Elias, who's not here today. But, yep. We'll see you guys next week on Thursday, probably 7 p.m. And we'll see you guys next time. LFGM.